Hey guys, Brian and Jeff with WorkshopAddict.com, and we are going to go over the new RIDGID OCTANE Brushless 18 volt 7¼ inch circular saw, model number R8654. In this video, we're going to show you some of the changes they made from the Gen5X to the OCTANE. We're going to go over the power differences between both RIDGIDs. We'll introduce the Milwaukee to kind of show you, or maybe humble you a little bit as to what it is. And then we're going to talk about, is it worth upgrading? So first, let's get into some quick specs on the OCTANE. You have a depth of cut of 2 11/16 inches at 90 degrees, 1 7/8 inch at 45. The OCTANE model has a no load speed of 5,600 RPMs. It'll bevel to 56 degrees. Pretty standard circular saw that's on the market. If you're familiar with either the Milwaukee or the old Gen5X, you're fairly familiar with the OCTANE model spec-wise.
The Gen 5 and the OCTANE are very, very similar with a lot of upgrades to the new chassis.
And when we first pulled these out of the box, what we wanted to look for is what was the difference. And me, I flipped it over. I wanted to see if the battery connections have changed, and they have. That was big. What's the first thing you noticed?
First thing I noticed that the handle on the new OCTANE actually gives you a little more room if you have a bigger hand. This one's a little tighter.
The Gen5X is a lot tighter if you have a lot bigger hand. And I don't know that you'd notice it right off the bat, small hand.
No.
But it is a lot more roomy inside the OCTANE. With that said, when you start looking at the two saws, you'll notice a lot of differences in the motor compartment. And actually, the OCTANE looks like it has a bigger motor that's more flat and narrow.
The Gen 5 is wider. I don't know if we can see that right now. The OCTANE seems good 3/4 inch narrower.
The two saws are made in a very similar fashion. When you start to look at the two saws, you might think that some of the parts are interchangeable. That's definitely not the case, but they are similar per se. There are some differences with the width, and I don't know that that makes a whole heck of a lot of difference because of where your hand's at. Your hand's going to stick out further.
Well, if you got a close cut to something, the motor being closer to it might make a difference. The OCTANE does come with a rafter hook and an exhaust port. It's an upgrade from the Gen 5.
Dust collection here, huge. So if you use it inside,
there you go.
Big deal. The rafter hook is adjustable, so you can put it in multiple different positions on the front. We put it right in the center. Not something that we used in this testing. Power-wise, we wanted to start out and just say, hey, 3 sheets of 1/2 inch OSB, what's the difference? The OCTANE model, we started out using a 9 amp hour battery, and we used the same battery in the Gen5X.
Did the OCTANE battery give our Gen 5 a little boost over the OCTANE? What's your thoughts on that?
Watching the OCTANE model being used with the 9 amp hour battery in the beginning, there was definitely an RPM increase or a torque load increase that was helping to keep that RPM higher as we were cutting through the 3 sheets of OSB. As we continued to cut, we finally got to a point where stuff said, hey, no bueno, we're done.
We're going to time out.
And that was the actual motor on the saw. Now, we couldn't feel that heat per se on anything. Even the battery at that point was not hot. Then we threw on the Gen5X, and there was a definite difference in speed. I think we have a flaw in our testing here because we went to test big power, and we definitely started to heat up both because after a little while we were cutting with the Gen5X and it stopped too.
But one time the Gen 5 stopped. But I think we can contribute that to having the OCTANE battery on it.
You're right. I think the OCTANE battery definitely was a big plus for the Gen5X. We started to, let's just run the Milwaukee through once to show you what happens. And it is funny because this is the Milwaukee FUEL heavy duty model, and I think you could get a running start, drop this saw in, and continue to run.
You can't keep up to that saw. No comparison whatsoever.
So there's a huge difference. In fact, maybe there's probably at least twice the power difference between the Octane and the Milwaukee FUEL. Build quality is also probably twice the difference between the Octane and the Milwaukee FUEL. Then we started to play with different settings on the RIDGID and Milwaukee, in honestly the cutting full depth on a 2x4. We thought that would be interesting, and the Octane just said, I'm done.
Yeah, where the Gen 5, it's like an old locomotive engine, you just kept chugging.
It wasn't going fast.
But it got the job done. And there again, does that go back to the Octane battery?
It might. It did time out at the end of that one too, though.
Yes.
Just as we got to the end of where we're going, it might have looked like you took your finger off trigger, but it just said done.
That was at a 30-degree bevel.
No, that was straight, full depth.
Okay. I'd have to go back and watch.
Then we went through again and we did a 56-degree bevel, thinking that we're going to see what happens with this. That is a full depth cut on the 2x4. And are we going to be able to make it through? The Octane again cut out on us.
Made it about, what, 4 feet?
Yeah.
We dropped the Gen 5 in the same hole and continued for another 5.
Then at the end of that, our battery said, I'm too hot.
Yeah.
So we switched batteries. Then we went down to a 30-degree bevel, which I don't remember what happened in there with all the testing. We'll show you guys it. But realistically, we had to finish the cut again with the Gen 5X. The flaw in the plan here was that we got the Octane hot and the Gen 5X hot right off the bat by saying, what can we do?
And we were kind of going for power versus everyday use. How often do you stack up 3 sheets of OSB on an everyday use?
Over,
right.
over.
Continual cuts.
And I think that is the definite flaw in the plan. But we gave it time to cool. So if you're on the job site and you were using this and you got to that same point where we were and you were like, okay, what's going to happen here? You're going to continue to get a little bit more and more disappointed with the 6 and 9 amp hour battery on the Octane because it did cut out. But if you get there.
Right. I don't think you would have that problem cutting 1 sheet at a time.
We should have started out and said 1 sheet. It's pouring rain right now, so we can't go back.
We were
out
on a
and dive
time
into
limit, and we were trying to get the best we could get.
I think that you would definitely notice a big difference cutting 1 sheet of OSB with the Octane compared to the Gen 5X. And I don't think that you would see those cutouts. If you were cross-cutting a 2x4, 2x6, 2x10, 2x14, I don't think you're going to see those cutouts in either one. So what we've seen and what we're showing, I think, is an anomaly of our testing.
It is, but
Comment below and let us know if you use your saw like what we were, because maybe we'll be surprised and say, hey. But I think it's good information for you guys to know, because long term, what are you going to expect to see if you're doing these odd jobs? And there are materials out there like LVLs or lamb beams, anything like that, that you're cutting that might be a longer cut, going to take up a little more power, and you might run into that.
True.
Was it worth upgrading?
That's the $1 million question, it seems. We've been talking about this earlier.
So if you're in the Gen 5X line and you have not went out and bought an Octane battery,
That's a must do.
Do it. Every test we've done, from the impact driver, the impact wrench, from the Sawzalls, all of them, when we put the
grinder was phenomenal.
Yeah, Octane battery, even on a Gen 5X tool, there is a significant increase in power and runtime. I think this battery, the output that it can handle in maybe the lower wattage consumption of the motor, they're just happy together.
Since
even the Octane.
What you were saying earlier about big motor, small consumption, will that hurt it over time?
No, because it's only going to pull so much. The Gen 5X is designed to only draw so much power, which was designed with the same battery. And it was said, hey, this is what I can pull. And it's the same thing if you could say, I'm going to put a 2 amp hour or 3 amp hour battery on that saw. Is it going to hurt the battery over time? Maybe because it gets hotter, but this battery isn't going to get
I'm not talking about the battery, I'm talking about.
No, you're not going to hurt the tool.
So it's a no-brainer.
Do it.
Gen 5, upgrade to the octanes.
If you're going to buy a new saw and you have none of these and you want pure power, go with the Milwaukee. I think you're going to enjoy the build quality of everything, the shoe, the whole complete power package. But if you're in the RIDGID line and that's where you're going to stay, I would buy the octane model because you have the dust port, you've got the rafter hook, and there's not a huge cost difference between the two. You're just going to know that in some cases you might get a couple cutouts.
Just the small upgrades that they made in the designs and everything, the octane just feels more user-friendly for.
Yeah, and you can see it when you look through. We'll show you some B-roll of what the back of it looks like, and I completely am down with the operations are the same. Most everything is very similar. You're just getting that issue with what are you going to buy? Then upgrading. If I had the Gen5X and I said, ooh, octane's out, should I get a more powerful saw? Am I going to get in there? No. Buy the octane battery. Enjoy the saw that you have, and maybe upgrade the blades. Here we just went with Diablo blades, just to even the everything out. We didn't even put the standard RIDGID blade on. I'm sure some people do. Most people are going to change things up. But the dust collection's huge. Everything else rocked. The octane model here, I'm actually waiting for a blade left saw to come out. Please. Milwaukee is over a year, maybe 2 overdue on a blade left saw. RIDGID seems to be coming out with everything octane. If we seen a blade left RIDGID before a blade left Milwaukee, I would not be surprised.
I'd be all over it.
We need it. TTI, we need it now. So, other than that, guys, ask some questions down below. Let us know what you think of this. Let us know what you think of the testing. I know we should start out a little different. Let's go light, and build up is how someone's going.
But you hit it earlier. We can't tame Mother Nature. We had a limited time to get out there, so.
We appreciate your time watching this. Give us some comments. We really appreciate talking with you guys, going back and forth. Make sure you give us a like in this video. Hit that subscription button and the bell for notifications. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.